So, um, good evening, everybody. We have some changes behind us, and that is what I want to talk to you about. We recently had the change to the Delta armor penetration trait, which was apparently incorrectly awarding -50 damage resistance rating to enemies when you shot at them. This was taken within the team, and therefore you could get optimal debuffing with a team that ran that trait, basically. At that point, you have to know that negative damage resistance rating DRs, it diminishing returns, you could say. So if you have like 100, you get like 95% out of it. If you have 200, you get less percentage-wise. So it will be only like 160 or something. And it was basically dead at a point of 250. So you wouldn't actually gain more if you put in more damage reduction. And that was actually a good thing, because as I tried to point out, that you could just run with any given team, like a 10k team that everyone was running that trait. You just knew that they could properly debuff for you, and everyone in that had a environment to deal optimal damage because all the enemies were properly debuffed. However, with this change now, it basically requires you to run a recluse with you to get all the betas, or to make other players use betas for you. And you can't really get to a point where you have enough betas unless you run 1 or 2 recluse even. So the composition of your team has been way more driven into that direction of using recluses. And I'm personally not too much a fan of it, because you basically know that when you run in a not optimal team, you will deal less damage than you should. Basically, when you look at your base damage on the combat log reader, you could basically double that for nicely debuffed runs. When you get less than that, you know that you could improve with using more betas. So that was major change number 1. However, even though that has changed, let me show you my Romulan, and I'm still using the enhanced armor penetration, precision, Nukara offense trait, and advanced targeting systems for the crit D. That is simply due to the fact that the enhanced armor penetration only gives you -5 damage resistance rating, which is very, very low. So it's not really worth slotting. Problem is, you don't have any alternatives, basically. If you go for the tactical advantage, and this one is the only possible other offensive trait for beamships, you get a scaling damage increase when your enemy is below 50%, and it scales to up to -15 damage resistance rating. If he's at 0%, you will get less at 50%. So if we, and on top of that, only one player can apply this apparently. So when I'm using it and you're shooting my enemy too, it will still get just one of those negative debuffs, okay? So it's not really that strong. You could potentially see it being beneficial if one player out of a team did it, and all the other 4 ran armor penetration, which then still will scale up to -20, which is basically as good as a beta 1, or if everyone ran it 25, which is a beta 1 if you have some points in attack patterns in your skill tree. So yeah, still go with that trait unless you feel you need way more defense. Then you can slot something else in, but really due to the lack of other good options, I'm still on the armor penetration side of things. Okay. Furthermore, we have this change to the plasma consoles. These ones. You no longer... I probably should move this over to the other screen so I don't look away all the time. Um, okay. So we had this change to the plasma consoles where their base damage was basically cut into 1/4 of what they used to deal. And yeah, their damage component currently is not cool. It cannot crit. It does not get modified by whatever you do. And one console will award you around 600 DPS. That is not really worth equipping it unless you need it for the flow capacitor skill for your plasmonic leech, which you will not need if you have the Azteca. That trait gives you brutal powers anyways. Second alternative would be go with plasma weapons, which for which you gain 11.2% plasma damage, which is 1/3 of a plasma console. So if you ran 3 of those, it would almost be another tech console, but it's probably not worth giving up all the good consoles for. So on my scimitar, I'm back to running the Tachyokinetic Bioneural and the 0-point energy conduit. Could quite easily switch the 0-point out for whatever you like. You don't want to use the Nucaro particle converter though. You don't want to use the hydrodynamics, and please don't use, I didn't even buy it on this tune, the Bioneural Gel Packs one, which reduces the bridge officer ability something. That's really not necessary. Okay, so we are basically back to remove those consoles when they will get reworked, which apparently will happen someday, as they announced it already. We will have to take a look at them again, so yeah, they might become more viable again in the future. Right now, not really necessary. Okay. What else do we need to talk about? So those are the two major changes that we had. Lately, we did do the reset of the Combat Log Reader's DPS league. Basically, all the old records get moved into this tab of Infected Space Advanced Season 9 something, and everything above 30k got just copied over there, and you have to resubmit one of your combat logs, or it actually logs out for, I think, just 1 or 2 days before now, so like the 3rd of March should be like somewhere there, the deadline. So just do another ISA and get submitted to the channels so we don't kick you out at some point unintentionally. Promise, with all the plasma dope, we had this discussion that we should apparently reset the league and do the invites again, which is somewhat a pain in the ass, but okay, we'll just do that. For that, I have prepared a nice video, which of a run we did today with 104k DPS. That one we will have later. Also, 2 more things. We have the event of the crystalline entity up right now. If you guys didn't see that, this one probably is the old one. Not sure which one this is. Okay, yeah, here. You get the energy torpedo launcher, which deals anti-proton damage, apparently buffed by anti-proton consoles. So this one will be very good. Possibly, we have to check on that. But definitely something to look out for in the future. Then we had the command ships, Tier 6 getting released. Basically all you need from this is the tactical versions. I didn't bother buying any multi-packs. It's not really worth it, like all of them are mediocre ships. I mean, they are okay to fly, but not really very good. They are good support vessels, but we have a video on that too later. Why do you want the tactical command? And that is pretty easily answered. It gets you the all hands on deck trait, and in case you don't know yet, that one is very strong. It's very strong. and I'll just quickly show you what it does. Okay. So if you use your captain-specific, some nice rubber banding. If you use your career-specific captain's abilities like attack pattern, tactical fleet, or photonic fleet, something like that. So not the fleet support, brace for impact, because those are not specific abilities, but everyone will get them. So if you use your attack pattern alpha, and then use a tactical ability, this one will appear on your tray here, the all hands on deck debuff, and that is a 5-second lockout or a proc that reduces the remaining recharge time of your captain's abilities and science abilities. So if I use like my hazard and mirrors and shoot off a tactical ability, you can see it drop by like 5 seconds. And if you look at the trade itself, it's 5% on captain's abilities and 10% on science abilities with a 5-second internal lockout. So that is why we want to have these abilities in here, the torpedo, high yield, and scatter volley. I basically only use them to get the timings on those 5 seconds correctly. And Hack Initiative can really help you out here because you can just get these ones down to 15 seconds too. So it would look like you using your attack pattern alpha, omega, something something, then your tactical initiative, you would check that your lockout is 1 more second, then you use an ability, get another 5-second lockout, wait a little while longer, and get another 5-second lockout, and then you are back to your normal abilities like attack pattern and fire at will for your 5-second lockout. The next one up would be the torpedo high yield again. This really relies on you having enough tactical abilities, so you cannot really pull it off on all the ships, but ships like the Scimitar are extremely good with this, so you can basically double the uptime of your attack pattern alpha later. You have enough tactical abilities. Okay, so that is all hands on deck. That is pretty damn crazy. You should get that. The multi-pack, probably not worth it. Okay. So let me show you something about those ships. And what they are really good for is their inspiration mechanic. I don't know if you have seen that yet. It's basically a additional tray which you get. Let me just hop on one of mine so I can show some of that. In the meantime, I can get some water. So for anyone in the chat, if you have any questions of any sort, let me know and not mess up this too much. Okay. We need to get onto this ship already. Stop up. Okay, I hope it switched the ships because. Okay, so this is why this one is a good support ship. The Against All Odds inspiration ability. It minuses all your inspiration, so you don't have any inspiration left. That is referencing to this bar below. Basically, you have to get into combat and then use abilities of your bridge officers, and then this bar charges up, if you can, as you can see here, 8% just for using a few abilities. Okay. Once this is fully charged to 100, you can use one of the 3 abilities, and that will drop all your inspiration and give you a buff for 15 seconds. First one is plus 33% all damage for 15 seconds, minus 100% weapon power cost. Now, I'm not entirely sure why it says minus 100%, if this is bugged or not. As far as I know, your drain resistance gets doubled, and that means that your drain will be cut in half. So basically, if something costs you 8 power, it will then be 4. It will not reduce your power consumption by 100%, so 8 will not drop to 0. The other one is, oh yeah, the important part here is the effects, friends, and self 5 maximum. Okay, turn the tide 5 maximum, 100 damage resistance rating, 300% hull regen. That is pretty useless. The all damage resist is sorta okay, but DRs pretty quickly too. So if you already have stacked damage resistances, that is basically negligible too. Battle preparation finishes some bridge officer power recharge things. I don't actually know why they put them in there. This one is the one you're usually looking for. And to that we have made a video. So let me just quickly find the monitor capture and move this one out of the way. Okay. One is the wrong video. Command inspiration. Okay. So what we basically did here is we have one of our guys, Aragon, over there in a command chip, and he's about to pop his ability. Okay, you expect to get a 33% damage increase. We have a team of 3 players, so we are basically waiting here for him to trigger his ability. We have him targeted over here, and just see what happens. He just triggered his ability. You can see the buff on him, 15 seconds against all odds, but we don't get any. Okay, the 14 seconds over here is my tactical initiative still counting down, so we didn't get the buff. So we were confused if this might be a range issue or what's going on here. So giving it a little more. So we moved in a little closer. You can see him use his ability again. Hollow sitting at like under 3k, under 4k here. I'm sitting at just under 5, as I tried to explain, well, in the mindset of thinking that this might be a range issue, but once again, only he gets the buff. And as you can see, you cannot see any pets outside or something, so we are really confused what is going on, because it should affect 5 targets, or as we just read out, right? Checking Hollow, he didn't get it either, so we are really confused. So we are moving in closer, because, you know, it might be a range thing. He just under 2, Hollow just under 3, and Aragon shooting off his ability. And guess what, we didn't get the thing. So this is the point where you are really confused, like what is going on, right? You would think that it should work, and there's no real reason why it doesn't. So we came up with the idea that it's actually a ranged thing, and that his pets that are docked and not on the map, like you cannot see them, they are within his ship, theoretically speaking, they consume the buff. So we make him put out his hangar item and basically do the test over, and as you can see now, he uses his ability. I get the buff here, increasing my damage by 30% almost, and you see the effect over here on one of the pets of Hollow. However, Hollow himself did not get the thing. And I'm trying to circle around with the camera to show where the pets exactly are that are buffed. You can see them pretty glowy over there. So the command inspiration does not only affect players, but also all friends, you know, how the tooltip only read allies and friends, or allies. What did it say actually? Affects friends and self. That is the exact speech of that. So we try to figure out now how far it reaches. So I'm at just over 10, and he shoots off his ability pretty soon. We have Holo getting into position on the left. And as you can see, everyone gets the buff. So over 10 is still fine. Moving out even further, 20k now, Holo just over 10. And now we did something more special. We made Holo use his pets. And Holo has his pets docked. Just one hanger base, so we don't have too many targets. And he is now spam clicking them on his pet tray, while Aragon uses his inspiration. And we can see through the target's target the buff tray of Holo's pets. And when he clicks them, I think he already clicked them, right? Yeah, he already clicked them, so let me jump back just a little here. Enough. Okay. So now he used the ability, and it's really difficult to stop, but you can see it for just a few seconds, so even Holo's pets that are docked get affected by the thing. And now comes the really creepy part. Pets, okay, possibly, right? But I am basically no more to this ability than his Plasma Cloud, because he's using the ability right there, and he buffs up his own Plasma Cloud. On his screen, you could see the Plasma Cloud, or you can even somewhat guess it here, but the animation looks way better when I retried it later too. On your own screen, so you can definitely see those 4 points basically highlighting the Plasma Cloud. So he's not buffing the players only, but all sorts of pets and allies that he can find. And that is just pretty damn horrible, because for it to be effective it should only apply to players, right? Pets deal negligible damage mostly, and especially the Plasma Cloud is something that shouldn't consume a 33% damage increase and damage power cost reduction, because you know, that is not working as intended from my point of view. Okay, so that is the good thing about the command ships. Then we have today's earlier ISA run with me on the Scimitar. It's currently one of the highest ranked still, I think. It's nothing special, I just thought I might show you guys how it looks after the Plasmid Open with the layout that I showed earlier. If you missed that, you should definitely check the replay of this later, because I don't really have too much time today. I'm sorry about that, but yeah. So let us just talking about the readiness of everything. We are waiting. So we get in a team of 1 recluse and 4 average tactical boats, someone flying the new tactical Warbird tier 6 command. I don't think we see his buff going though. And okay, go away. We are on a 50% GDF here, so that is not too good. The fleet support is still on cooldown, and I'm just trying to get my buffs going here. It's somewhat lagging, like you do see the weapons not shooting properly. We just execute the average basic strategy. I mess up on timing 0 level for the all hands on deck. But that is not too big an issue. Cloaking up to hit the spears in the middle using the fire at will. Okay, so we hit them. I first thought I might use the Nukara refracting Tetran on them, which is why I used my Romulan singularity manipulation thing. I then decided against it because they are all obviously dead before I can get there with the evasive cooldown. So I just decided to wait a little longer and evasive over to the other side, where we just shoot the thing in the middle. Our alpha already being back up after 1 minute 20 due to the all hands on deck trait. So we shoot that, fly to the middle. I want to use my Nukara thing here now, so I fly in pretty close, which gives me all the aggro, so I know something is coming, right? I'm already tag teamed, and I get all the torpedoes now, dropping me to 20%, but the failsafe scrambler is saving me, resetting all the aggro, and they die very quickly after that. We fire on my mark the tactical cube, and get our tactical fleet resetted with that high yield torpedo. Yeah, then we just sit there in the middle second of the anchor trait for 20% additional damage, which is why our damage is basically going up so much right now, even though we are not flanking him. That would be sort of ideal, but just can't properly get it in. I just decided to sit there and shoot it. And that was today's 104k DPS run with 56 point something base DPS. So if we would have had more betas in here, I mean, you can see we had not too high overall DPS. We could definitely do a lot better. This was just a test about the lag and how it feels. Alright, cool. Then I had a request by someone in game called Final Tom, I don't know. And he's flying a Palisade, which does look like this. So let's have a short look at this. He flies a science captain apparently. You have a good tactical layout with the dual fight will, dual attack pattern, and one tactical team on a Federation tune. That is actually fine. Due to reciprocity, resetting your tactical team as much as you need it, basically, because when they don't shoot you, you don't need it anyways. And when they shoot you, you should get this back up pretty much on its internal lockout anyways. The engineering abilities, now that is something that I wouldn't necessarily agree with. This basically means that you don't have any duty officers that reduce cooldowns for emergency powers, which can be done if you don't have the money for it, I guess. It's not really necessary. I personally prefer the auxiliary to structural integrity field though, because it also gives you the damage resistance on it, and it has a shorter lockout. So its CD is only 15 seconds, and the engineering team is 30, so you probably run duty officers to reduce the cooldown of your engineering team, and I don't really think that is necessary. If you can get the damage control engineers, I would go for emergency power to shields 1, emergency power to weapons 3, and aux to civ, structural integrity field 1. Or if you want to use it more offensive, I'd go for the directed energy modulation. It's not really necessary though. The damage difference is sort of small. For the commander science, we have the hazard emitters. We have, I think this icon is polarized hull. This one should be feedback pulse, and this one is gravity well. I don't get any tooltips on this for some reason right now. Okay, anyways, you don't really need a polarized hull unless you run PvP with it. You have your attack pattern Omega to get you out of tractor beams, and evasive maneuvers with the piloting trait gives you a 2-second immunity too. So I didn't run polarized hull in a very long time. I would also not go for the damage reflection in PvE. In PvP it's a very good ability, but if you look at that on a PvE scale, you like 90% of the damage incoming is torpedoes. Okay, so you need something either kinetic reflection, which is not in the game, or someone is experiencing lag. I hope that is not on my part. I have 0 drop frames, so it shouldn't be. Anyways, okay. So the damage reflection doesn't really do anything. On a Cyboat, I'd go for TBR2, or even 3, and put in Graphwell 1, because TBR deals the highest damage of science abilities. Like, if you want to use it for crowd control and such, you can put in a lower tier of that ability. If you just want to use it to pump out more damage with the gravity one and everything, you want TBR 3 of it. And then you need the science trait. And then I'd go for hazard emitters and transfer shield strength. Probably transfer shield strength 1, hazard emitters 2, because you mostly die due to burns and hull damage. Shields are quite fine. Okay, so that is on bridge officer abilities. Weapons, we have 3 anti-protons with crit H and accuracy. Crit H and accuracy, and crit H and accuracy. So, assuming these are Romulans, you have crit H, and you have your attack consoles having crit H. And unless you do something very special, you always want your weapons to have crit D. They can possibly have 1 crit H in there, but you shouldn't have like massive crit H on your weapons. That really just hinders your damage. The particle gen solenoid deflector, whatever this one is, that's the one that increases your party gen. It can be done, but I probably wouldn't. I mean, when I look at your items, I'm pretty sure you wanted to do something fancy with torpedoes and exotic damage. And the truth is, exotic damage is okay, but not insanely strong. So, the Mako shield might be due to not being able to afford the plasmonic H, which is sort of fine. I would go for a simulated 2-piece in the deflector and shield slot and the Romulan engines. That buys you astronomous defenses due to the assimilated 2-piece, which gives you that passive regen 1% every 2 seconds. It gives you that proc, which regens like 30% every minute or something, and it gives you damage resistance rating when procs. So this one is very strong. And the Romulan engines give you plus attack pattern expertise, or plus attack patterns, and that is due to your attack from Omega and Beta, a probably better damage increase than the rest here. I mean, it's a tough call. You're probably trying to get to like 300 party gen to make your TBRs crit all the time, which you don't really have right now. But you shouldn't over-invest into that. Good evening, Cookie. Okay. So I'd go for assimilated 2-piece Romulan engines. Your weapons are pretty much fine outside of their buffs, because you don't want crit H but crit D on them. Accuracy is about the worst that you can possibly get, because Quiet Will does not benefit from accuracy overflow, so you're basically deleting one of your stats on there. EPS flow can be, the console here can be sorta okay if you don't have anything else to put in. The isometric charge is a PvP thing these days. I wouldn't recommend it in PvE anymore. Even though it gets scaled with party gen, it's just not strong enough to really justify giving up a console slot for it. The aceton field generator is also a PvP thing, I'd say. The the Nucara particle converter, and now you have to be really careful with this one because it gives you this plus 10% beam accuracy, and everyone thinks that is cool, but you have to keep in mind that Beamfind Will does not benefit from accuracy overflow though, so you're basically deleting that stat. So all this console does is giving you plus 17 RDGen out of it, and that's just not worth it, you know. The assimilated module working together with the kinetic cutting beam, that is awesome. That you will always want to have. You have the vulnerability locator consoles in your tag slots. That is basically perfect too. So the only two things we have to talk about is secondary deflectors and the warper singularity call. And at this point, you want AMP. And the obelisk core doesn't give you AMP. No matter what you do, you cannot upgrade it to have it. So you need to get a AMP core. It's just better in everything. The 10% are outdated by now, so yeah. Sorry. You probably want a embassy, not but spire core. Let me show you mine. This one is what I run right now. The plasma integrated, which gives you which gives you base resistance rate of power levels and increased regen rate. And you want the one with weapons to auxiliary. So let me show you why. Theoretically, you would want weapons to shields. Okay. So this one is weapons to shields. If you upgraded it, if you have upgraded it, oh my god, I can't talk anymore. You get weapons to shields times 2. Now I'm at 80 shield power, and this one will be a test if I'm still up to date here. And as you can see, I have just switched my core to weapons to shields times 1 only. We are still at 80 shield power. The suffix on it doesn't work. Weapons to shields times 2 does not apply. It only applies weapons to shields times 1. So if you go for weapons to shields on it, you're done. Okay, you just deleted one of your stats. Go for weapons to auxiliary because you cannot never have enough auxiliary, and then you get weapons to shields when you upgrade it. So interesting chat convo. What is going on? You guys PvP again? Currently we don't. PvP is so broken that it's not really worth it. Might check it out someday. My new nickname, Sexy Ryan. Oh my god. But I heard that one before that. It's pretty old actually. Okay, so that is it for the cores. Let me switch starships. Should I show you the secondary reflectors? Let's just talk about it. If you have a secondary deflector, it can come with all the science abilities on it. So the ones you want are plus flow, plus party generator, and then you cannot have it double dip something. So outside of sensors, I believe. I have seen triple sensors, but I have never seen double flow or double party. So those are the two ones you will always want, and the third one is whatever you like. You could go for graviton to increase the pull, you could go for power insulators for the tachyon beam, not to drain you drying too quickly. And then you just upgrade them with flow and party. If you get them to epic, you will get another party generator trait on them. Mine is somewhere. Probably in one of the ships. Okay. So the consoles, I would go for, theoretically speaking now, because I don't know if you can really afford it, I would drop the Mako shield, so I would replace this one with the plasmonic leech. I would replace this one with the tachyokinetic and the bionial infusion and the 0-point energy conduit. That is pretty expensive. If you cannot afford that, should definitely replace this one with the 0 point, and then, you know, work your way through there very slowly, because these consoles are sort of fine. You can use them, they are just not optimal. You could, however, always get on science boats the constriction anchor. Let me see if I can bring that one up, because that shouldn't be found anywhere. Okay. So this one is the constriction anchor, and what it does is it gives you plus 23.7% bonus to exotic damage, and that is a real percentage. So for your exotic damage part, this is awesome. If you run TBR Graphwell, put that thing in if you have spare slots, because it was really cheap last time I checked. It did cost something like 250k. And for science ships, it's a very strong thing. The aceton could be interesting for especially CCA, which we are looking for later. Yeah, so that is the console thing. Okay, cool. So he is a science captain. His skill tree, this part is fine basically. He driver call 0, that is pretty extreme. You usually want some in there. 3 to 6 is fine, everything. Batteries, not really necessary. I don't tend to use them too often too. If you have the red matter, however, or the enhanced induction coils, it's a very important thing. Starship hull repair 6, that is okay. Integrity, warp core efficiency, so this is nothing too special, it's looking pretty good. I would put in more into armor reinforcements than in hull plating, just due to the fact that they, as in the Borg, will try to kill you with torpedoes, and the energy damage that you take in for hull plating only applies to your hull. You cannot increase your shield resistance with this, okay? So if someone decides to beam overload you to death, that might be a thing, but usually something happens like someone shoots you with energy weapons and your shields are done, and then you get a torpedo and you die, or a core breach under you kills you. Those are the most common causes for death in STFs at least. For PvE, inertial dampeners doesn't do anything. So I will ditch this one, put in a little more flow capacitors, party gen is fully spec'd, draft gen can be done, so that is looking pretty good. Yeah. Skill tree is definitely quite okay. Or the science trait of R&D, that one's good. Conservation of energy, that one is good. The positive feedback loop, so you're definitely trying to deal damage with your exotic damage portion, so you should get a TBR in there with the duty officer to pull, probably even just to, you know, not wipe your team. Fluidic cocoon we have. What do we need? Inspirational leader, okay, that one is pretty expensive. That's actually looking pretty fine. Enhanced rending shots, is that the icon of it or not? Yeah. On regular builds I'd go with enhanced armor penetration. Even after they have nerfed it, it's still a good buff for your team. A Herogen, what is a Herogen bridge officer? I have never seen that. Using emergency powder weapons is a good thing, but as I tried to explain, try to get those duty officers. 259 particle gen. Okay, you just have too much accuracy. That's really a problem. So theoretically, you would want these two to be Romulans. The science one would be the hierarchy bridge officer, and the last one could be basically whatever. If you can afford it, get a pirate. There's a STO Academy build of Ryan Scimitar exists. Just started building a new tech tune, and I want to see what the top guys are doing. Yes, it's in one of the videos on YouTube. On there, I I think it's actually Felician's recording of it, but I showed most of the build as an items earlier, so if you watch it later, you would see what I'm running on my scimitar, and I can give you a short overview later too. Okay, so that is that. I had someone else earlier asking about his Intel Cruiser, but I don't think he linked me his build, so I can't really tell what is going on there. Just checking whether or not he left me a message, but I don't see it. Okay. Cookie, this build is from someone else who asked my opinion on it, so I decided to just bring it up and, you know, talk it through. Okay. So, we should have everything on this. So let's bring back our game, and I wanted to do two things. Obviously getting a run of the new CCA event, and CCA is a queue that you can fail if 3 people on your team die due to the shockwave. So there are 2 ways to really deal with this. You can either fly away. Holy smokes, are there actually 560 people playing that? Or is this just a reporting error? I wonder. I really wonder. I mean, that is looking ridiculous, considering everything else is so empty. So, the shockwave deals 105,000 base damage, which means you need to have more than that in your damage resistance. You can use either major defensive abilities, or you can just fly away. If you are not sure what to do, fly away. If you know what you're doing, did the math, you can just stay in there, possibly even get your GDF. Okay, this has been somewhat revamped because there shouldn't, or last time weren't those things, rifts. Okay, let me just quickly type command log. Shooting these guys. Tag teaming ourselves to distribute shields and the TBRs. Stacking up singularity power, so I'm waiting a little with my warp shadows. Don't want to use them too early. I'm using the tactical initiative to reduce the remaining cooldown time on my trigger abilities. Always trying to keep the all hands on deck in vision, basically checking if that is available or not. So then we use another tactical ability to keep it going. And tractor beam from that guy over there, maximizing uptime of fire at will. Just flying backwards a little. Okay, good time to use our warp shadows to dump some of the aggro using the go down board tactical team and everything. Fleet support didn't trigger, so just using that one again. The crystalline entity turned invisible. Okay, it's back. Found my mark on the thing, and I'm talking way too quickly. Anyways, just keep your weapons cycling, don't interrupt them too often. Tactical team and stuff going defensive wise. Tholians don't really like you too much if you just shoot them, so I will probably just fly out of this. I'm a little afraid of it killing me because I had to use most of my stuff already, so I'll just wait outside. The bar up here filling. Okay. Interesting scramble effect. Our stuff again. Our pets. You just used his command ability, and we actually got it, so he didn't have his pets within range, or they fixed it, which I don't really believe they did yet. I'm not sure if they have acknowledged that as to be an issue so far. If you haven't seen that, you should definitely rewatch the VOD of this, because I showed something very amazing earlier. If you didn't know how the ships work. So the bar is filling and I'm just now using my barrel roll, which will send me into this roll for 4 seconds, and I just survive it with that. Okay, so we just sit here, guessing it until it's dead, hopefully. Sitting in the bubble, another good time to use some warp shadows. Back to 5, he's shooting some torpedoes and all the fancy stuff. It is still lagging. Getting knocked back by something interesting. Okay, I'm using our stuff in between, and now the cycle refreshes. We shoot our weapons. And that shall be the end of the CCA if it decides to die at 0%. Thank you very much. Okay. And you know, during the event, get the crystal shard. As you can see, I managed to get 2 of those on the last event. I am good at doing repetitive stuff that is not really that interesting. Or, well, okay, you get the idea. You got first place. I don't recall when I didn't, and that is because in CCA healing is the most important thing. Like, you can get first easily without dealing any damage. If you just heal a lot, and since Romulans have the Valdor console healing you all the time, it's not a big surprise, to be honest. The Valdor console just gets you that first place. So let me read that comment log so we can look at that for a sec. Okay, in the meantime, while it is loading up that thing, I wanted to go to Vulcan and check out that memorial they built. So this was the combat parse of what we just did. I did 50k base DPS. It has pretty high damage resistance, so we only did 36.8 damage. Healing, as you can see, 600 something k, with the second player being at 230, so just 1/3 of it, and that's just why you can't get second there if you have the Valdor console and no one else is using it too often, or having it too. I mean, then you definitely have a fight, but this console is very strange. Okay, this, by the way, is my current loadout of the Scimitar. You want to take. Okay. Bridge office is looking like that. I hope you got that screenshot. Okay, so looking back at this, the CCA second in damage, we have a our dual E-Manx fired will dealing 17, the regular attacks dealing 6k, so a ratio of almost 1 to 3, which is about what you're looking for. You want your fired will to deal 3 times the damage of your regular attacks, even more if possible, and that highly depends on which mission you're flying. If you know when you will take breaks and you have to fly over to the other side and you don't attack with your regular arrays, that is sorta good. On ISA, obviously, you want to keep shooting just for your Omega amplification procs. Okay, so using the frosted boost run over Vulcan. Let me do some recap on the chat. I always use Valdor, but I can guarantee you that I don't get that close. The Valdor is for healing, it's not for damage. Okay, so I don't know if my graphics are bugged. I personally like that they put in this invisible wall so people don't climb all over it. Live long and prosper on the underneath it. It's a good thing. I like it. All the people standing in front of it look a little awkward, but the thing itself pretty cool, especially the interpretation of the logic sign of Vulcans with the candle in it, the ever-burning candle, because apparently it will not go out anytime soon. So yeah, I think that's cool. Good stuff they did here. Screenshot taken, thank you a lot. Nice. Alright. So I guess that will be it from me for now. I might be back later. We will try some ISAs at some point, I guess. They did not yet apply the hotfix where your powers don't cause lag in space anymore, which was in trouble patch notes, but even there, it didn't really help us. Even the trouble runs were lagging pretty badly. So, yeah, you know, serious play might have to be delayed a little while longer. Cookie, you have a recording of 1 hour and 4 minutes. I'm pretty close to my goal. If I keep this a little shorter, it actually enables me to, you know, have something to talk about, and that is something cool, I guess. Or it enables me to do it more often. So thanks everyone for watching, for tuning in. If you didn't see it, and you have friends who didn't see it, just go watch the VOD of it. And I'll see you guys next time. Hope possibly later. I'll have to see what it feels like. Thanks, and good night.